Welcome to Compassionate Cultures, the podcast. You're about to go on a journey of empathy, understanding, and transformation. Get ready to dive into the heart of humanity's most pressing questions with me, Rebecca Hemmings, the CEO of Strawberry Words Training Consultancy, and guests. It's time to turn up the volume on kindness and to amplify the voices of minorities that often go unheard. This podcast asks questions like, how can we create workplaces where ethnic minorities thrive without the chains of career stagnation? What if universities were safe havens for all, free from the storm of microaggressions? And how can we bridge the gaps between cultures that have been divided by the walls of bias and ignorance? This is not just a podcast. This is a revolution of empathy. Welcome to Compassionate Cultures, the podcast. Get ready to explore, learn, and change the world one compassionate conversation at a time. Hey, so welcome back to the Compassionate Cultures podcast, and you're enjoying this series, I hope, on undoing your unconscious bias. So we know that this topic has been a hot topic for a while, and it's not going to go anywhere. And do you know why it's not going to go anywhere? Even if people call it something different or have a desire to stop talking about it for a while, the reason why it won't go anywhere is because our unconscious biases aren't going anywhere. They are what they are, and we all have unconscious biases. If you dispute that, listen to the last episode. I'm not going to go through it again. So this episode assumes that you've accepted that we all have unconscious biases, and again, as I said in the last episode, they don't equate to, you are a bigot, or you are a racist, or you are. It's none of that. It's just saying that we all prejudge based on lots of things like, oh, I don't like people who wear green shoes, or I don't like people with bad breath, or whatever it might be, right? There's lots of reasons why we prejudge other people. So again, this episode assumes that you know this, okay? So we're moving on. And for this example, I'm going to share with you something I noticed whilst watching an episode of The Apprentice. So if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what The Apprentice is, it's a program where entrepreneurs come on and they work hard by participating in various tasks in order to win £250,000 worth of what's his name, Sugar, Sir Alan Sugar's money, right? He will invest £250,000 in their business. So there was this one woman, and I don't remember her name. It's probably a good thing, but she's from Liverpool, and she hadn't done a task. She hadn't managed a task. So at some point, everybody has to become a project leader, right? So she hadn't been a project leader. So Lord Sugar said to her, "Look, on the next task, you're going to be a project leader." So that was it. That was her role, and so. It was so interesting because before this task, I suppose she was just that very smiley person, kind of always had something funny to say, but you never really got to know her character. But this task enabled you to see a lot more about her. And I certainly picked up on the fact that when she dealt with a particular person, wow, she was a whole different person. And so it got me thinking, like, what is going on there? Could it be that she's got an unconscious or conscious bias towards this particular person? Now, I don't know whether it was an unconscious or conscious bias, but I certainly know it was a bias, and it certainly wasn't a positive one. It was a negative one towards a black man. And this woman, I believe, is of Asian origin. If I've got that wrong, please feel free to let me know. Okay, I do know she's Muslim. So she got to be the project lead, and she had to create a video in order to present whatever it was, but they had to create a video. And so she had assigned this man, I think his name's Trey. I'm going to say Trey, and again, if that's wrong, let me know. I've just got a terrible memory at the moment, but anyway. So she assigned him the role of writing the script okay? And her other colleague, they were creating the video. And there were just lots of moments where she would just not let him finish speaking, and she'd be very dismissive of him. And you could really see that, and he was, bless him, he wasn't rude to her. You could see he was getting frustrated because he was being shut down. The other colleague, again, I think her name was Sam, but I don't remember. You could see that she could also see that, wow, you're not treating him fairly, because at times she also stood up for him and said, things like, oh, I think he's trying to say, but this woman was having none of it, okay? And so I specifically remember where she'd given him this task to write the script. And when they'd finished editing the video, which is when he should have started writing the script, she said, well, how come you haven't written the script? And he's like, well, I can't write the script until the edit's done. Yeah, but you should have done it. And he was like, but I've just explained to you. And she just wouldn't have any of it. She was gaslighting him because obviously he couldn't write the script until the edit was done, but she wouldn't listen to what he said. And anything he said, she shut down. And so I would like to just, for the purposes of this, recognizing how to undo your unconscious biases, I want to use this woman as an example. So I'm just going to give her a name. Let's call her, I'm going to call her Layla, right? If I was Layla and I wanted to work through my unconscious biases, let's say that I've said to myself, right, I'm committed to trying to undo my unconscious biases because, like everybody else, I realize I've got them and I really want to work on them. Excuse me. Hey, I know you're enjoying the podcast episode, but I just want to quickly come in and say, look, if you're an organization that needs anti-racism training for your organization because your staff are lacking in a racial literacy, they don't have the words, they get stuck when talking about racism, they want to be able to deal with incidents, but they're not sure how to, then check out our Time to Talk About Race online CPD accredited course at strawberrywords.co.uk. Okay, we can train from 10 to 10,000, but get in touch today at admin@strawberrywords.co.uk. Now back to the episode. And so, one of the ways in which to identify your unconscious biases is to pay attention to your physiological symptoms. All right. So let's say every time she's around Trey, she feels herself getting irritated or annoyed. There's just something about him. Or her palms become sweaty, or she just starts to shallow breathe. These are all signals we want to pay attention to. They're your hot button triggers, okay? And it's telling you that subconsciously something's going on that you might need to pay attention to, okay? You perhaps won't know exactly what it is at that moment, but if you've made this commitment to undo your unconscious biases, then in this moment where you're faced with this person who just for some reason just annoys you, you're going to pay attention. So, okay, so I'm Layla and this person's coming to my space. He's on my team. I'm having to lead him and every single thing he says just annoys me like, oh, okay, this is good, right? Because, it's making me realize that I possibly have an unconscious bias towards this person. So in that moment, what I want to do is take nice deep breaths to enable me to slow down my thinking so that I don't become irrational, because often when we're shallow breathing, we become irrational, but instead I'm allowing the blood to flow freely through my prefrontal cortex and therefore I can think sensibly and be rational, okay? So that's really important to take that time to slow down, take nice deep breaths, because if you allow your irrationality to take over, this is when people get in trouble. This is when people call people names which they didn't even think they even would call somebody. This is when you treat somebody in a very unfavorable way or unfair way, and you're surprised that you did that. You don't want to do any of that. So as Layla, I'm taking these nice deep breaths. calming myself down. And then this is all happening in my brain. So I'm thinking, what is it about this person that makes me feel this way? Like, what is the fear? What is the fear that hold on a minute. Could it be because, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm even thinking this. Oh my gosh, I'm just getting hot and bothered thinking about it. Could it be because of his skin color? Wow. Like, nobody wants to admit that. Like, I know, and this is the why a lot of people will get defensive when we're delivering anti-racism training, right? Nobody wants to think they treat somebody differently because of their skin color. But this is a conversation with you. So in this moment, be honest with yourself, okay? So as Layla, could it be because of his skin color? It's possible. I might answer it's possible, okay? And this is fictional. I'm not saying this is what she was really thinking because I can't possibly know that. But let's go with it. Okay, so what is the fear? You want to ask yourself, what is the fear I have? Well, could it be that I think people like him are violent or rude or discourteous or lazy or, wow, okay. It could be those things. I admit it. These are the things I've heard, right? Again, I'm fictionalizing this. And so in that moment, what I want to do is, when I ask myself, is it true? Like, is he treating me in ways that display these features, him being angry and violent and, lazy and rude? Actually, no, I can see that he's trying his best to work with me. Nobody else is reacting in the way that I'm reacting. And actually, he's being quite nice to me. I can see that. And I can see that he really wants me to win this task. So actually, the fear is not valid. So then I want to treat the situation, or certainly treat Trey, with fairness. I want to listen to the way that I'm speaking to him. Actually, I am speaking to him in a very hostile tone. Actually, I am cutting him off, cutting his sentences off. And I don't really want to treat him that way. I want to treat him with fairness because I wouldn't talk to my family members in this way, or my friends. So let me just calm my tone down. Let me allow him to speak. Let me allow him to help me on this task. And then what Layla will want to do is to repeat this behavior, certainly every time she's around Trey, but anytime she's around anyone that has set off her emotional triggers, she wants to repeat this because, what we can't expect is that we do this once and then, wow, ta-da! Your unconscious biases are cured. That's just not how this works, okay? They've taken many years and decades to become embedded and solidified to the point where we don't even question our unconscious biases because we are not aware of them for most of the time. And so for any of the time until you develop your hot button triggers, or you develop an awareness of those. So, you have to keep repeating this exercise. Do it over and over again. Listen to your body when it's telling you you're feeling something, and then go through that process. Is what you're thinking true? Are you treating this person with kindness and fairness? Keep repeating that, okay? And eventually you will find you just get along with many more people in an easier way, because you're not fighting against that unconscious bias that says you have to fear this person. All right, that's brought me to the end of this episode. I hope that's been useful to you. Wherever you're listening to this, please let me know your thoughts, let me know your questions. If you've got ideas for episodes, send me a message either on Spotify, I'm on LinkedIn, or even on our Instagram page, Strawberry Words. So see you next time. Bye.